In the era when young dolls were in vogue, a woman dreamed of creating an adult toy, one that no one had seen before, a doll with curves. This idea came to her while observing her daughter playing with paper dolls alongside her friends as they assigned adult roles to these dolls. Fascinated by this concept, she said to herself, "Why don't I create an adult doll through which my daughter and her friends can project their future selves?" Handler was ready to give it her all. She made sure she did everything in her power to make her dream come true. Here's the story of Ruth Handler, the woman who created one of the world's most successful toy companies. Her Barbie doll toy became the most iconic and popular toy in the entire globe. We at Business Chronicles tell the stories of extraordinarily successful people. Please subscribe to our channel to help us make more videos. Ruth Handler was born on the 4th of November 1916 in Denver, Colorado. Her father, Jacob Moskowitz, and her mother, Ida Moskowitz, were Polish immigrants who had traveled to the United States on a steamship. They gave birth to 10 children, and Ruth was their 10th child. Ruth's father, Jacob, was a blacksmith. He had earlier fled Poland because he didn't want to serve in the Russian army. Ruth's mother, on the other hand, was sick. She wasn't able to take care of her kids, and when Ruth was just 6 months old, she was taken care of by her elder sister Sarah and her husband, Louis Greenwald. Growing up, Ruth was more of a tomboy, but all this changed when she met Elliot Handler at a B'nai B'rith dance. She immediately fell deeply in love with Elliot and was ready to be with him. They were the perfect high school sweethearts. But it wasn't that simple. Ruth's parents weren't buying this idea. To them, Elliot was a hungry artist. He was a poor match for their daughter, and she could do much better than him. All this didn't matter as Ruth and Elliot eventually got married in 1938. Ruth had to move down to Los Angeles in 1935 when she got her first job as a secretary at Paramount Studios. While Ruth was working, her husband Elliot was studying. Later, Elliot dropped out of school and began to design household products like bookends and candle holders. In a short period, Ruth and Elliot established their first company, Elzac. They added giftware and costume jewelry to their products, and in no time, Elzac quickly became a $2 million enterprise. Ruth and her husband Elliot weren't satisfied, so they decided to enter into a business partnership with Matt Matson, which they called Mattel. They wanted to manufacture picture frames, but they didn't stop there. They went ahead to use the scraps from the picture frames to make dollhouse furniture. And boom, in 1945, the Handlers were already making so much profit, this was a sign they needed to enter into the doll-making business. They made their first ever Yuka-Doodle, a toy ukulele. Ruth had 2 kids, Barbara and Ken. Baby dolls were in vogue during this period, so every parent got their kids one or maybe more. Not to mention that Ruth Handler and her husband had a toy business, so they had access to lots of toys. Surprisingly, Ruth's daughter Barbara wasn't all that interested in these toys. Instead, she played dress-up with paper dolls, pretending to be a grown-up college student, cheerleader, and adult with careers. She was projecting her future self onto these paper dolls. Ruth was fascinated by Barbara's innovation. She thought to herself, why not make an older doll? So she went ahead and pitched this idea to Elliot and the other designers at Mattel. They didn't believe anyone could be interested in purchasing an adult doll, so Elliot shunned the idea. Ruth Handler had no choice but to give up on this dream of hers. But it was only for a while, just until 1956 when Ruth and her family went for a vacation in Switzerland. They passed by a toy shop. This shop had various German-made Bild Lilly adult dolls on display. They were about 11.5 to 12 inches tall. They were dressed in different European outfits. They were gorgeous, and Barbara just couldn't make up her mind on the exact one to buy. So Ruth asked if it was possible for her to buy a different doll and a different dress. It wasn't possible. She needed to buy all the dolls if she liked all their outfits. Right there, it clicked. Ruth knew what next to do. Her next move was to sell her own doll with a whole wardrobe of outfits. Immediately, Ruth got back to the United States. Only one thing was on her mind, and that was to redesign her doll. So the designers at Mattel got to work. In 3 years, they were ready to deliver. They were done creating the doll of Ruth Handler's dream. Ruth named her new doll Barbie and debuted her in a black and white swimsuit at the 1959 American Toy Fair in New York City. And by the end of its first year of production, Ruth Handler had sold over 350,000 Barbie dolls. Barbie's popularity continued to grow, and by 2002, Ruth Handler had sold over $1 billion in 150 countries. Everything seemed to be going fine. Mattel was still leading the market in the 1960s and were able to produce other toy projects like 1960s Chatty Cathy, Who Talks, the educational toy series See and Say, and the Hot Wheels miniature car line. Down the road, things began to crumble. Ruth Handler was investigated severely for producing fraudulent financial reports. And in 1976, Ruth had no choice but to resign from Mattel. Even after she resigned, the investigation didn't stop. And in 1978, Ruth was charged with fraud and false reporting to the United States Securities and Exchange Commission. Handler pleaded no contest to this charge. This bagged her a $57,000 fine and 2,500 hours of community service. At this time, Ruth was already diagnosed with cancer. She believed her sickness was the reason why she was unfocused on her business. Ruth had to undergo some surgeries. Years after this, Ruth was again diagnosed with colon cancer when she was in her 80s, and eventually died from surgery complications on the 27th of April, 2002. Ruth Handler was a pioneering American businesswoman. Ruth's entrepreneurship spirit, creativity, and ability to spot opportunities in the market left an undeniable mark on the world of toys. And thanks to her creation, Barbie has remained a source of inspiration and empowerment to children all over the world. We'll let you decide for yourself what to think of Ruth Handler. Was she really the greatest businesswoman? Did Ruth really set the toy business into what it is today? Let us know in the comments. We've come to the end of today's video. If you enjoyed this video, leave your thoughts in the comment section and subscribe to our channel. Also, hit the notification bell to get informed when we upload new videos. See you next time.